So here we go. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for participating, all the past presidents participating in my installation. And thank you all who are here for sharing your evening with us at this annual banquet. This week officially marks the start of our second half century as a professional organization. That's a big deal. I want to begin also, they've been thanked already, but I don't think we can say it too often, but we have to thank the ACPE staff. Honestly, we're so lucky to have them. We are a volunteer-led organization, but without the incredibly resourceful and talented staff here in Atlanta and out in the field, we could simply not exist at all. So if you don't know who Trace, John, Mark, Sheila, Terry, Jasmine, Kim, Tiffany, Carl, Zizi, Catherine, Steve, and Wayne are, please find out soon. You need to know them. I'd like for them to stand. Next, I want to thank all the members who have served on committees and commissions from the 2014 to the present in particular. These individuals have provided countless hours and dedicated leadership to our association on boards, commissions, committees, task forces, and work groups. I'd like anyone who has served on any of the following to stand as the group name is called and remain standing, please. The Organization Design Work Group, Certification Reform Task Force, Professional Development and Peer Review Task Force, Redesign Implementation Team, Accreditation Work Group, ACPE Board of Directors, Foundation Board of Directors, Accreditation Commission, Certification Commission, Professional Ethics Commission, Advocacy Committee, Finance Committee, Leadership Development Committee, Professional Wellbeing Committee, Research Committee. Look around you. This is what a professional association with an engaged and passionate membership looks like. If you are not standing, see me or Stephen Robinson after dinner. Stephen, raise your hand. Where are you? Stephen? Oh, there he is. See Stephen Robinson or me after dinner. And be prepared to be standing next year. I also want to thank my Cleveland Clinic colleagues in CPE, Bob McGinney, director of the CPE program, and our two new associates as of the past few months, Rabbi Jim Egoff and Rabbi Shulamit Eisen. Our candidate, Reverend Sarah Harding, and our newest CEC, Imam Jawad Bayat. Please stand. And though she left us for Minnesota, we still claim her, Kate Colmaden, who's beginning in training. The Reverend Kate Colmaden. Lastly, I want to thank my family. I want to apologize to my husband for saying something to Joe Clare that I had no idea would be repeated. He's a German, and he doesn't do that kind of thing. But I do want to thank my best friend and husband of 34 years, Thomas Reuter, and our absolutely astonishing sons, Dominic and Nathaniel. Without their love and support, I really don't think I would ever have done anything worth doing. A few years ago, when I had just recently become director of spiritual care at the Cleveland Clinic, I heard the following Winston Churchill quote, and it has really stayed with me. He said, "To each there comes in their lifetime a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if at that moment they are found unprepared and unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour." There are a few key times in our lives, if we are lucky and if we are paying attention, when we are tapped on the shoulder in just this way, asked either from deep within ourselves or from someone else, or from that strange and mystical thing we call vocation, to do something that is unique to us and fitted to our talents. It can happen to us individually or in teams, as organizations, or even countries. I believe it can and will happen to ACPE in the very near future. I feel strongly that all of our work of the past few years to reorganize and restructure has been our becoming prepared and qualified, not simply to survive, but to be ready for our finest hour. In the midst of adapting to all of our new procedures and structures, I want to invite and encourage us all to remember that in spite of all the changes, we are still ACPE. When the focus group met with the rebranding and marketing consultants over 18 months ago, it became clear after much consideration of a new name that our acronym was simply too big an asset to give up. We realized with their help that it has come to stand on its own, regardless of what each letter stands for, much the way no one cares what IBM or UPS initial stands for. We know who they are and what they do. The same is true for us. We are ACPE, and we are the standard for spiritual care and education. And so to honor our rich history and the legacy that we've inherited, we must be more vigilant than ever to live up to the standards that we ourselves have set, to continue to professionalize in ways that keep us relevant to the changing demands of our culture. What we are uniquely fitted to do is needed by the world, not just by the healthcare world, but in all the settings where our theologically and spiritually grounded way of caring and learning can offer unique benefits. Though we must become more savvy about the market forces and cultural shifts that affect our ability to offer such in-depth training, we cannot ever afford to water down or cut corners on an educational process that is designed in its very DNA to transform both the educator and the educated, the caregiver and the recipient. Because of the talent and dedication of our membership and our staff, we continue to transform our craft and prepare for our future. We have a lot to celebrate tonight and a lot to be thankful for. We offered over 8,500 CPE units of training this past year. That is over 3.4 million hours of CPE. We certified 43 new educators in 2017. The average age of our certified educators seems to be stabilizing rather than continuing to spike upward, meaning that we will have people to carry forward the work in the future when some of us have retired. Many of you know this has been a concern of mine. We must continue to tap the shoulders of the younger and brightest and best folks that we come across to help them to think of this work as a viable and satisfying form of ministry, one that is constantly challenging, but also relevant and may even allow them to feed their families. We are moving in the right direction. We are prepared for the uncertainty of the 21st century with its skyrocketing education and healthcare costs because we had the courage to reflect on who we were and to evaluate how we operate. By implementing the recommendations of the Organization Design Work Group and the Certification Reform Task Force, we accepted that our existence was no longer a given, but rather a gift. And it is a gift that we must keep making sure that we use wisely. We have developed a great team. The ACPE staff are energized and creative. For the first time in our history, we have 3, not just 1, certified educators on the staff, whose primary responsibilities are to help create our new models of community and to be a resource to all of us. We have a talented and responsive team whose full-time day jobs are to help keep this thing moving forward. We have redesigned the accreditation process to be more user-friendly and collegial. We're trying hard to eliminate some of the gotcha quality of past procedures. We want to address challenges and, yes, problems long before, or at least sooner than, and with more decisiveness as an organization than perhaps we have been able to in the past. Recognizing the wide variety of our programs and contexts, we want to help our members meet the commonly determined goals and objectives without forcing a uniform approach. We are still redesigning, as of this afternoon's workshop, the new certification process to place much more freedom, but also responsibility directly into the hands of the aspiring educator in a way that looks more like a doctoral program than a magical mystery tour. The expense, both financial and emotional, of the old system is something that we should truly never forget. And though it had some wonderful qualities, it was not the most efficient or effective use of our time or resources. We needed a better, more compassionate tool for screening candidates earlier in their processes. It is a huge change, maybe the one that is requiring the most adaptation, and we are not there yet. And though our outcomes are still sound, they are not carved in stone, and we must always be willing to re-examine them and add to them in light of new research and experience, as they tell us we should. We should keep the bar high for what we expect of a certified educator. That hasn't changed, but we have changed how and where we will assess competency so that we're more effectively evaluating the full range of skills needed, and doing so with more fiscal responsibility and better stewardship of our ever more precious time. We are still refining, again, as of this afternoon, our peer review process, our new peer review process, that requires that certified educators to maintain competence and stay in process while providing greater accountability and modeling what it means to be truly lifelong learners. I just did my peer review yesterday with the new process, and it was harder, I won't lie to you. I was nervous, but it was a richer experience too. I got real consultation for something that has been thorny for me from colleagues that I highly value and respect. The new process also provides us as practitioners with more regular and ongoing collegial support and relevant feedback. It really is focused on our ongoing maintenance of competence and our professional development, not just on checking a box. With the new governance structure, we've also created more opportunity for the membership to get involved in immediate, relevant ways. We've gone from a time when it was sometimes hard to fill all the empty spots on the nominations committees to having a wealth of talented folks ready to put their own particular passion and expertise to work, ready to be, in Churchill's phrase, tapped on the shoulder for very particular tasks. We're asking everyone to think in terms of tapping each other on the shoulder, as well as putting forward your own names for tasks and roles where you have a particular passion and skill. The Leadership Development Committee really wants to hear from you. Finally, ACPE has garnered more support from national funders in the past 4 years than it has in all of its prior history. I'll say that again. ACPE has garnered more support from national funders in the past 4 years than in all of its previous history. That's a big deal. Thank you. We can thank the staff largely for that. Because of our collective giving commitment to our annual campaign, we've developed philanthropic partnerships with national funders like the Henry Luce Foundation, Arthur Vining Davis Foundation, the Fish Foundation, and the Carpenter Foundation, resulting in over $500,000 in grant money for projects to strengthen our work. ACPE is financially stronger than ever, with an endowment valued at close to $4.4 million, thanks to our strategic consolidation of organizational functions and regional reserves. Individual giving to ACPE remains strong and is growing. 1/3 of our active membership goes over and above by supporting the annual campaign, and a growing number of individuals have made gifts to ACPE part of their estate plans. If you can give to the foundation even a tiny amount, and this is where the Baptist comes out, like I don't care how small it is, put it in the plate. If you can give to the foundation, no matter how small an amount, that helps us ask for money from other people. The percentage of an organization that the membership gives has an impact on how much other organizations are willing to give us. So even if it's a tiny amount, please get yourself included. We are making progress on every front. And the message I want you to hear tonight is that I believe we are on the verge of our best work ever. This really could be that our finest hour is just ahead of us. Unprepared and unqualified? God forbid. ACPE, we have been preparing. We have made progress, and we're still making it. We're making progress on the research front. If you've not been keeping up with the work of transforming chaplaincy, then please do. Talk to George Fitchett afterward, right there. Thanks to Wendy Cadge and George Fitchett and many others, we're starting to create a research presence beyond just our own trade publications. Many of us are getting involved in offering education to our medical and other professional colleagues. We have a lot to offer. I get to teach medical students about spirituality and medicine and what does that mean. We're growing in our relationships with cognitively based compassion training based out of Emory, and how we can be folks who not only learn this ourselves but help teach our other professional colleagues how to take care of themselves in the midst of very challenging work. We're the best at reflective learning, folks. We are. We're the best at this. We know how to do the action reflection model of learning, and we've always been the best at it. And we have to stop being quiet about it. We're not therapy, and we don't need to just imitate therapeutic models. The noun in our name is and always has been education. And we know how to engage people of very different views in transformative adult education. We should be more assertive about what we know how to do. I think that we as an organization are on the verge of being tapped on the shoulder. The world does need to know what we know, and we should be able and ready to articulate why. We should all be preparing for our finest hour, and we should learn to think as a system rather than as separate centers and programs. When you talk about ACPE to anyone, the preferred pronouns should be we, us, our, ours, not it, them, they, theirs. Got that? We, us, our, ours. Those are the preferred pronouns. I believe the world truly does need what we know. We know how to build temporary communities of adult learners who actually do transform one another's world views, who actually do widen and make the table bigger. We know how to teach the art of confident, competent, compassionate presence that holds a space while suffering people find their own way back to courage. We know how to model reflective learning, the cycle of doing and evaluating and doing again. We can offer these tools far beyond the offices of chaplains. We can and should be ready to teach and speak on the value of being able to give and receive real collegial feedback that is respectful and productive, not simply offer cheap flattery or, at the other extreme, sling criticisms at people that we don't really feel invested in. The world needs to know how to engage in respectful critique, and we should be leading the way in teaching it. As Carrie Egan told us yesterday, there is a breach in what is being written and what is being talked about, and we need to step in and fill it. We need to speak up and step up, and we have a place to fill that we need to accept. I believe that the growing demand for us to account for our value has actually improved our craft. I remember as a CPE intern, fresh out of seminary in New York City more than 30 years ago, asking my supervisors why the hospital should pay for chaplains if we could not show our impact and importance. You can imagine that did not endear me to my supervisors. But I wasn't asking them that because I didn't value what we did. I asked them that because I did value it. And then I got back to the South, to a religiously based hospital that valued spirituality as a core need of its patients and its staff. I still had similar questions. And I had both the fear and the exhilaration caused by watching Franklin Duncan and Robin Booth learn to adapt to new market forces when a religiously based system was bought out by a secular corporation. We had to learn to make the case for the value of our work, and that was not a completely bad thing for us to have to learn. Since going to the Cleveland Clinic 11 years ago to a completely secular, research-based hospital system, I've gotten a whole new kind of on-the-ground training. When Dennis Kinney arrived there a year before me, there was one staff chaplain and a CPE program in hoc with the Accreditation Commission. He didn't mention that part during the job interview, let me just say. Still haven't quite forgiven that, have I? We had 7 residents, one day. We had 7 residents, 1 SIT, and my coming doubled the CPE staff for a 1,400-bed main campus in a system with 9 additional hospitals. Almost no one knew or cared that we were there. We had the ride of a lifetime, as Dennis loudly and widely proclaimed what chaplains could do, essentially selling something we didn't yet have the labor force to deliver. Yes, it is. It is. It is his specialty. However, we must have dreamers, and therefore, together we started building a team that could demonstrate who we were and what we could do at such an institution. And our team included holistic nurses and chaplains. The department has grown since then, and we still have a long way to go, but they know that we're there. We still have to show our impact, but we believe in it more than ever, and it's energizing to be able to demonstrate our contribution, not only to better patient care, but to the care and education of our fellow caregivers as well. And we know, better than any of our colleagues from the other professions, that in spite of the decline in religiosity, or maybe because of it, of the general public, the hunger of the human spirit for connecting to the ineffable, the mysterious, especially in times of fear, uncertainty, horrible news, and death, that hasn't gone away. And the search for meaning and purpose beyond our immediate circumstances hasn't slacked up at all. I believe it never will. And we're the ones who get this, and we should be ready to talk about it at a moment's notice. When the culture we live in spends most of its energy and resources in the fear and denial of pain and death, we are the ones who know how to talk about it. And we are the ones who know what to do when there's nothing more to do. We should be proud of this. It is hard, but it is an amazing skill set, and we should be proud of it. So I say to you tonight that we are in very exciting times. I agree with Churchill that we often don't know when it is that we will be tapped on the shoulder and asked to do something that we really are uniquely fitted for, something bigger than us, something that maybe even feels too hard, out of reach, especially when we're all being constantly asked to do more with less. But if we are prepared and qualified, truly qualified, we will be ready to respond to that tap on the shoulder, to rise up and get about the work at hand. And we might just find that we have been preparing all along for that which will turn out to be our finest hour. Thank you.